My name is Logan Daniels. I'm a grade 10 student at Toronto Prep School in Toronto, Ontario. I'm really honored to be a finalist at this year's Friends of Simon Wiesenthal Center's Speakers Idol.
Being on the right side of history doesn't seem like it should be that difficult of a task. All it takes is to have basic human morality and ethics. Yet many people throughout history, even those who are revered, commit actions that betrayed those simple concepts, or at least failed to act when faced with a moral dilemma. We as Canadians and people across Western liberal democracies face a potential era-defining moral and ethical dilemma at this very moment as a result of the Chinese government's persecution of Uyghurs in Xinjiang. The parallels between the current situation in China and Germany in the 1930s are terrifying. Furthermore, the parallels between Canada's responses to each of these crises are also incredibly concerning. The full extent of the atrocities occurring in Chinese so-called re-education camps is unknown, as we mainly only have seen Chinese propaganda. This is frighteningly similar to how Canadians were unaware of the full extent of Nazis' atrocities until the end of the war. Although I cannot say with certainty that China is committing mass murder, there is substantial evidence it is perpetrating a cultural genocide to wipe away Uyghur presence in culture. They've used assimilation tactics resembling those of Canadian residential schools, banned religious practices for Uyghur minors, and essentially made all forms of cultural expression, such as going to mosque, non-existent, because Uyghurs feared being apprehended. This is reminiscent of the Nuremberg laws and their effects on Jews in Nazi Germany. Like Nazi Germany, China is a totalitarian state using forced sterilization and slave labor, destroying places of worship and seeking greater control over more territory to populate with their preferred ethnic group. We can see parallels even in the Olympics. In 1936, the world convened at the Berlin Olympics and celebrated Germany despite knowing what the Nazis stood for. Sending athletes to the 2022 Beijing Olympics would demonstrate tolerance of persecution, just like in 1936. As for Canada, we did not stand against Germany's anti-Semitism as one might hope. Canada's Jewish immigration policy was none is too many. Most Jewish refugees were turned away. 2,300 Jews who did make it to Canada were held in internment camps, and no Jews allowed signs were widespread amongst the populace. Fortunately, Canadians do not generally support the Chinese persecution of Uyghurs. Parliament voted to call this crisis a genocide, but Canada and the rest of the world have not taken any consequential actions against China. Sanctions require international cooperation to have major effects. That appears to be the excuse for not taking any significant action, but we need to try. Canada must convince other countries to jointly hurt China's bottom line, so much that China has to stop its persecution, since any of the perceived benefits would be outweighed by the costs. We should try to do anything possible to stop a genocide in its tracks. Simon Wiesenthal once said, "The history of humankind is the history of crimes, and history can repeat. So information is a defense. Through this, we can build. We must build a defense against repetition." Canada's response to Germany's crimes was abysmal, even though we were at war with them. Now is the time to make sure that we do not let history repeat itself, and we do not end up on the wrong side of history. Thank you.